The cabin trip that turned into a nightmare. People think they can understand someone just by looking at them. A smile, a conversation, a shared memory. But the truth is far more terrifying. Because sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones you know the least. And I learned that the hard way, on a trip I will never forget. And maybe I should have never come back alive. It started about 5 years ago. Life was heavy, stressful, and exhausting. Every day felt like a loop of work, bills, and silent frustration. My girlfriend Stacy and I were barely holding things together. One night, she suggested something simple. A weekend getaway. A cabin, deep in the woods, no phones, no stress, just peace. It sounded perfect, too perfect. But there was a problem: money. We couldn't afford it alone. That's when Stacy suggested something that felt harmless at the time. My best friend Randy and his girlfriend should come too. We would split everything. It made sense. Or so we thought. Because that decision changed everything, Randy agreed instantly. He was excited, maybe too excited. We booked a small wooden cabin deep in the forest. Snow-covered trees, silent nights, and a warm fireplace. Everything felt like a dream waiting to happen. We spent days planning food, games, and drinks, laughing about how perfect it would be. But just before the trip, everything changed. Randy called me. His voice was different. He said he and his girlfriend had broken up suddenly, unexpectedly, and it wasn't pretty. For a moment, everything felt awkward. We considered canceling the trip. Or returning his money. But Randy refused. He said, "Don't worry about it, just go and enjoy it." But something about his tone didn't feel normal, like he was hiding something. The next day, he called again. This time, his voice was excited. He said he had someone new, someone he barely knew, but wanted to bring along on the trip. Stacy immediately didn't like the idea, and honestly, neither did I. A stranger, in a remote cabin, in the middle of nowhere. It didn't feel right. But Randy insisted. He even offered to cover my share completely. We tried to refuse. But eventually, we said yes. That was our first mistake. And we didn't even realize it yet. When we finally started the trip, the sky was already turning dark. Cold wind hit the car windows as we drove deeper into the forest. No signal. No lights. Just trees, endless trees. As if the world behind us had disappeared completely. Then Randy introduced her. His new girlfriend. Lucy. She was quiet. Too quiet. She barely spoke during the drive. Just small nods and forced smiles. Something about her felt off. But I couldn't explain it. Stacy kept trying to talk to her. But Lucy barely responded. It was like she didn't want to be there. Or worse, like she didn't belong there at all. When we finally reached the cabin, the cold hit even harder. Wood creaked under our footsteps. As we stepped inside, the fire crackled slowly. But the atmosphere felt wrong. Heavy. Silent. Like the cabin was watching us. We decided to play a game. Uno. Simple. Harmless. Fun. At least, that's what we thought. We sat around the table, cards in hand, laughing slowly at first. But then, something happened. Something that changed the entire mood of the trip. Forever. The fire crackled softly inside the stone fireplace while snow drifted quietly outside the cabin windows. For a brief moment, it almost felt like the peaceful getaway we'd imagined. Almost. Stacy pulled a deck of Uno cards from her bag and smiled. "Come on," she said. "Let's make this trip fun." Randy agreed immediately. To our surprise, Lucy nodded too. It was actually the first time we'd seen genuine interest on her face since meeting her. For the first 20 minutes, Everything seemed fine. We laughed. We teased each other. The atmosphere finally started feeling comfortable. Even Lucy had begun speaking more. Seeing her relax made Stacy and me feel relieved. Maybe we had judged her too quickly. Maybe she was simply shy, but sometimes, people don't reveal who they truly are right away. They wait until you feel safe. The game continued. Stacy had been winning most of the rounds, which wasn't unusual. She was ridiculously good at card games. Eventually, she placed another card on the pile and cheerfully announced, "Uno." She only had one card left. The room instantly went silent, not because of the game, because of Lucy. The expression on her face changed so suddenly that it felt unreal. 1 second, she looked calm. The next, pure rage. Her eyes locked onto Stacy. "What do you mean, Uno?" Lucy snapped. At first, we laughed. We honestly thought she was joking, but she wasn't laughing, not even a little. "You cheated," Lucy said coldly. Stacy blinked in confusion. "What?" "You cheated," Lucy repeated, louder this time. "There's no way. You only have one card left." Stacy nervously laughed. "Lucy, it's just Uno." "That was a mistake." Lucy slammed both hands onto the table so hard that the cards jumped. "No," she screamed. "You're lying." The room froze. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. The sudden explosion of anger felt completely out of place. We had known this woman for less than a day, and now she was screaming over a card game. It was our first real warning, and we ignored it. Stacy tried to calm the situation. "Seriously, I wasn't cheating." But Lucy wouldn't stop. She accused Stacy repeatedly. Her voice grew louder and louder until it echoed throughout the cabin. It felt less like an argument and more like watching someone completely lose control. Randy finally stepped in. "Lucy, stop." She turned toward him. For a moment, the entire room became silent. Then, without another word, she threw all of her cards across the room and stormed away. A bedroom door slammed seconds later. Nobody moved. The only sound left was the crackling fire. Randy looked mortified. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. Stacy forced a smile. "It's okay." But I could see it in her eyes. She was uncomfortable. So was I. The mood had changed, and deep down, we all knew it. Something about Lucy wasn't normal, and the night had only just begun. Later that evening, things became even stranger. Almost as if nothing had happened, Lucy reappeared for dinner. She smiled, she laughed, she acted completely normal. There was no apology. No explanation. No sign that she'd completely lost control. Only hours earlier. It was as though the entire incident had never happened. Honestly, that disturbed me more than the outburst itself, because normal people feel embarrassed after behavior like that. Lucy didn't. She acted like she had switched personalities, and that wasn't the last time we'd see that happen. Stacy had prepared dinner for everyone. The atmosphere remained awkward, but we tried our best to move forward. Then Lucy began talking. At first, it seemed harmless. She talked about how she and Randy had met, but the conversation quickly became uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. She started sharing intensely private details about their relationship, things most couples would never discuss publicly. Especially not around people they'd only met hours earlier. Randy looked horrified. His face turned bright red. I immediately started changing subjects and making jokes to lighten the mood. Thankfully, Lucy eventually stopped talking. But the damage had already been done. By that point, everyone felt uneasy. The cheerful atmosphere we'd expected from this trip was gone, completely gone. And deep inside, I had a feeling things were about to get much worse. That night, sometime after midnight, I woke up suddenly. At first, I wasn't sure why. Then I felt someone gently shaking my shoulder. I opened my eyes. It was Stacy. She looked nervous. "Listen," she whispered. I sat up. For several seconds, I heard nothing. Then, voices, muffled, angry. Lucy and Randy were arguing. Their bedroom was located on the opposite side of the cabin, so I couldn't understand exactly what they were saying, but I didn't need to. The tone said everything. They were fighting. Badly, the argument continued for several minutes, then suddenly, silence. Complete silence, neither of us knew what to do. Mentioning it in the morning would only embarrass Randy. So we agreed to pretend we'd heard nothing. Eventually, we went back to sleep. Or at least, we tried. Neither of us realized that this argument was only the beginning of something far darker. The next day passed quietly. Almost too quietly. Randy seemed exhausted. Lucy barely left their room. Whenever she did appear, she looked distant. Detached, lost in her own thoughts. By evening, the tension inside the cabin had become impossible to ignore. Still, none of us expected what would happen next. Sometime during the second night, I woke up again, but this time, it wasn't Stacy who woke me. It was fear. I opened my eyes and nearly screamed. Someone was standing beside my bed, watching me. For a split second, I thought an intruder had entered the cabin. Then I recognized him, Randy. But something was terribly wrong. He looked terrified, completely terrified. "Can I stay in here tonight?" he whispered. I immediately sat upright. "What happened?" Randy hesitated. Then he quietly closed our bedroom door. His hands were shaking. "I woke up," he whispered, and Lucy was standing beside the bed. I frowned. "What do you mean standing?" Randy swallowed. "She was just standing there. In the dark. Watching me sleep." A cold chill ran through my body. Randy continued. "I asked her what she was doing." He paused. "She said she was making sure I was safe." The room became silent. Even Stacy had stopped breathing. "Then what happened?" I asked. Randy looked away. "She walked out of the room. But she never came back." And what Randy discovered afterward would terrify all of us. Unable to sleep, Randy eventually got out of bed to look for her. That's when he noticed something strange. Something lying on Lucy's side of the bed. He pulled back the blanket. And froze. A large kitchen knife. Lying exactly where she'd been standing. Randy didn't touch it. He simply left the room and quietly walked toward ours. As he crossed the dark living room, he heard something. Humming. Soft. Slow. He turned. Lucy was wandering through the darkness. Humming to herself. Almost dancing. Almost floating. Randy said she didn't even seem awake. Then suddenly, a floorboard creaked. Lucy instantly stopped moving. The humming stopped. Without turning fully around, she softly whispered, "I know you're there." Randy swore she wasn't even looking directly at him. Yet somehow, she knew. He ran to our room immediately. And that's where he was standing now. Terrified. Shaking. As he finished telling us everything, we heard footsteps. Outside our bedroom door. Slow. Deliberate. Followed by soft humming. And in that moment, we realized one horrifying truth. We weren't alone in that hallway.